My girlfriend accused me of assault after a night she said she wanted, and even after the jury cleared me, everyone still looked at me like a monster who got away. I used to think of myself as one of the good guys. Not in the corny way where you pat yourself on the back for holding doors open or remembering birthdays, but in the way where you really try to be decent. I didn't cheat, I didn't lie, I didn't raise my voice, and if anything I was guilty of being too patient, too eager to smooth things over. Which is probably why the way everything unraveled still feels surreal, like someone ripped pages out of my life and rewrote them with a version of me I don't even recognize. I met Stephanie at a friend's housewarming. She had this spark, the kind of energy that fills a room without being loud. She teased me for drinking plain Coke while everyone else had cocktails, and later she messaged me to ask if I made it home safe. From there, we fell into a rhythm that seemed ordinary and good. Dinners, movies, late-night texts about nothing and everything. She wasn't clingy, she wasn't distant. For the first 6 months, I thought, this could actually be it. The first crack appeared so small I almost convinced myself it wasn't real. One night, she asked about my ex, Julia. Not in a casual "did you two end well?" way, but in the forensic way, like she needed every detail. I kept it short. We dated, we drifted apart, no hard feelings. Stephanie pressed, though, what did Julia look like? Did she ever try to reach out? Had we slept together after the breakup? I answered honestly, but my stomach twisted. The next day she apologized, said she was just insecure sometimes. I let it go. Everyone has insecurities. I figured love meant patience. For a while things went back to normal. We made playlists for each other. We planned a weekend trip. She talked about introducing me to her parents. And then, out of nowhere, she started pulling away. Not ghosting, exactly, just slow replies, canceled plans, excuses about being tired or busy. When I finally asked what was wrong, she hit me with, "I know what you did with Julia." I thought I misheard. "What are you talking about?" She told me, Stephanie said flatly. "You hooked up after you started seeing me." It was absurd. Julia and I hadn't even spoken since before Stephanie and I got together. I laughed, then realized Stephanie wasn't joking. "Steph, that never happened." "Why would you believe her?" "Because she showed me messages." I felt the air leave my chest. "What messages?" "She deleted them after I saw." "But I know what I saw." It was like being accused of a crime in a country where you don't speak the language. No proof, no way to defend yourself. Just a verdict delivered with certainty. I begged her to trust me, reminded her of who I'd been every day with her. She stormed out anyway. That night I barely slept, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how to fight a ghost. A week later she texted, "I want to work through this, but you need to prove you're serious." So I did everything she asked. No more casual female friends. No late replies. Full transparency with my phone. I told myself it was worth it to save us. For a while, things smoothed out again. Then came the night everything exploded. We were fooling around, laughing, a little tipsy. She said, "You wouldn't dare pin me down." I thought it was playful. She giggled, shoved me, I pinned her wrists for a second, then let go. She kissed me harder after that. I didn't think twice. Until the next morning, when she looked at me like I was a stranger and said, "You hurt me last night." I froze. "What?" "No, I didn't." "Steph, you scared me," she said, her voice trembling. I didn't want that. I was horrified. I apologized immediately, even though she'd been the one egging it on. I told her I never meant to scare her, that I thought it was mutual play. She said she needed space. I agreed. I spent the next few days sick with guilt, replaying every second in my head, convincing myself maybe I had misread everything. Then the police showed up. 2 officers at my door. Questions. A complaint filed. Words that didn't make sense strung together in sentences that threatened to rearrange my life forever. Sexual assault. Domestic violence. Coercion. I tried to explain, to insist it was a misunderstanding, but once you're in that room, your words don't sound like defense. They sound like excuses. They booked me, fingerprinted me, made me stand in front of a camera while I tried not to break apart. I called my best friend from the holding cell. He didn't answer. My mother cried when she picked up the phone. My boss said I should take some time off until things were clarified. Clarified, like my life was a blurry photo someone needed to adjust. For weeks, I lived in limbo. My lawyer told me not to contact Stephanie. Don't text her, don't try to explain, don't even apologize again, it could be used against me. I wanted to scream because all I had were apologies. I wanted to tell her I was sorry if I scared her, sorry if I misread, sorry if I'd failed to make her feel safe. But in the eyes of the law, silence was safer than sincerity. The trial prep was hell. The prosecution painted me as manipulative, violent, controlling. They cherry-picked texts where Stephanie said things like "you're too rough sometimes" without including the ones where she followed up with "I like it though." They described the pinning down as restraint. They took my private life and turned it into a theater script where I was always the villain. Meanwhile, my world collapsed. Friends drifted away. Some believed me quietly but didn't want to say it out loud. Others cut me off completely. Online, whispers spread faster than facts. I was called a monster on forums I'd never heard of. People screenshotted my mugshot and shared it with captions like "another abuser exposed," "strangers threatened me." Old coworkers unfriended me. Even my landlord started hinting that maybe it was time to move out. I stopped going outside except for court and groceries. Every shadow felt like judgment. I tried to work remotely but my brain was soup. Nights were worse. I'd sit in the dark replaying everything, wondering if I'd missed a sign, if I'd failed some invisible test. Once, I stood on my balcony and thought about stepping over the railing just to stop the noise in my head. I didn't, but the thought scared me enough that I started sleeping on the floor so I couldn't see the edge. The only thing that kept me alive was the stubborn belief that the truth had to matter. That someday, somehow, it would come out. And then, a year in, it did, but not in the way I expected. Stephanie broke down on the stand. Under cross-examination, she admitted things she hadn't meant to. That she'd been jealous, that she'd believed Julia when she shouldn't have, that she'd exaggerated because she felt hurt, that she wanted to teach me a lesson. She admitted she hadn't actually said no that night, hadn't told me to stop, hadn't even pulled away. She said she felt conflicted afterward and convinced herself it was assault because she couldn't reconcile her guilt. My lawyer's jaw tightened so hard I thought his teeth might crack. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Not guilty. Just like that. 2 words that were supposed to give me my life back. But walking out of that courtroom didn't feel like victory. It felt like crawling out of a grave and realizing everyone still thinks you're dead. Because the headlines don't say innocent. They say acquitted. People don't read retractions. They remember the first story, the mugshot, the whispers. Even now, 2 years later, I still get side eyes when someone Googles my name. I lost my job permanently. My social circle shrank to 3 people who refused to abandon me. I can't even think about dating without nausea clawing up my throat. And therapy helps, but it doesn't erase the way I flinch every time I hear the word accusation. Sometimes I want to rage at Stephanie, to demand she see the crater she left behind. But mostly I just feel tired. She ruined her own credibility too. People don't line up to support someone who admitted they lied under oath. I heard she moved cities, maybe even changed her name. I don't care enough to confirm. I just want distance. What I learned, what I'm still learning, is that the line between your life and its destruction is thinner than you think. One accusation, one misinterpreted night, one bitter ex, and suddenly you're not you anymore. You're a headline. A cautionary tale. A hashtag. I didn't deserve what happened to me. But I also can't go back to who I was before. I'm different now. Harder. More suspicious. I don't trust as easily. I record conversations. I keep screenshots of everything. I don't drink when I'm with someone new. I don't let myself be alone with anyone who might one day twist a memory into a weapon. It's a lonely way to live, but at least I'm alive. The other day, a coworker asked me why I don't date. I almost said, because last time I tried, I almost lost everything. Instead I smiled and said, I'm focusing on myself right now. Which is the truth, in a way. I'm focusing on breathing, on existing, on rebuilding piece by piece. I'm focusing on becoming someone who can live with scars instead of pretending they aren't there. And maybe that's the closest thing to redemption I'll ever get.